Hello, everybody. Welcome to Faces of the Frogs. Today, I am joined with TCU legend, TCU royal family member, if you will. We've got Chad Huffman with us this morning. Chad, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Melissa. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. The series is about talking to some of the great names, the great people of TCU, and for our second edition, couldn't think of anybody better than to go to one of the legendary two sport athletes, one of the people who was a part of kind of the renaissance of TCU athletics and two of probably the two biggest programs on campus in both football and baseball. And so, as I said, it's really just awesome to have you here and looking forward to talking about your journey and seeing what you're up to now. So let's start with what brought you to TCU. Now, obviously, there's quite a lineage in the Huffman family here in Fort Worth. Can you tell us a little bit about your decision coming out of Elkins High School, correct? One of the powerhouse programs down in South Texas and Houston. Tell us a little bit about, choosing TCU, if your brother Royce being there impacted that positively or negatively, and how you ended up a Horned Frog.
Yeah, so I mean, TCU has been a big part of my life since I was a kid. Obviously, my grandpa played here, my dad played here, and my brother as well. So I grew up wearing a number 12 TCU football jersey for running around the house as a toddler, really. So I've always knew in the bottom of my heart, I always knew I was going to go to TCU. I did explore some other options at some other schools that showed interest. But at the end of the day, I just felt like TCU was home. With Coach Patterson, I just felt like playing two sports. After speaking with him, I feel like he was going to honor that type of commitment where, not all other schools that kind of get you on campus and change their tune a little bit. But just TCU was just a great fit for that. And it was, and obviously Slosh came in. I was actually recruited by Coach Brown, and then Schlossnagle's first year was my first year. So, but how I came to the decision was pretty simple. That was just a family, brainwashing, if you will, but it's the best thing it's ever done.
Tell us a little bit about, making that decision to be a two-sport athlete. Obviously, we're a star in both football and baseball in high school, but making that decision to basically be a year-round, full-time athlete at the collegiate level is a big deal. What was it that made you want to pursue that opportunity, and what was it like, especially your freshman year, making that adjustment?
Great question, because that's doing both is something I just love. I always love both sports. I love them equally today. Even though I played much longer, obviously, in baseball than I did in football, but both sports I have a separate, different type of love for. Football was, I felt like, the team aspect of it, and walking into the huddle and just throwing a football and throwing touchdowns it was something that can't really recreate on the baseball field. And baseball, always had a love for that as well. Just playing with some of my teammates and having good teams and winning championships is always fun. But to answer your question about my freshman year, that was a challenge. I understood what I was getting into because what Royce had to go through, but it's something when you're told, you don't really realize how much time is actually given to play two sports. And not even that, but then you have study hall, then you have school. Then you try to have a little bit of a social life being a freshman in college. So my freshman year, I remember calling my mom. This is crazy. I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't know if I can continue to play two sports. This is like, I feel like I'm up at 6 a.m. or I'm at the weight room at 6 a.m. and then I go to class and then I go to football practice and I come back to hit, and then I go to study hall. So it was like 6 a.m. till like 10 p.m. I remember sleeping in my car a few nights in the parking lot, just next to the gym, so I didn't miss it, next to the workout facility. So a lot of time went into it, but it was, as much as it was challenge, it was very rewarding, just like anything else in life that when you're challenged and you overcome, you succeed in it, it's very rewarding.
You're in a really unique position in that you can probably say you are a part of the seminal moment with both programs. probably the only person that can actually say that. You were a part of TCU football on the team that went into Norman and beat Oklahoma. And you were there for Jim Schlossnagle's first year and the year that they won the Mountain West Conference, right? So you obviously didn't experience the previous regime with either program, but can you talk about how you saw maybe the momentum changing or the vibe changing, even as from being a recruit to seeing that success kind of come to pass on the football field and in the baseball stadium?
Yeah, you know what? I would say if there's one common denominator between both the football and baseball side of things is that how well we were coached. I believe that Coach Patterson and the whole coaching staff, and for, almost 2, I guess, decades, how well they took 3 to 4 star athletes and not only, made them good players, but made them good people off the field and coached them well. And we beat teams that had better athletes, but we were well coached. And I think that was the one thing that you don't really realize that while you're there. You don't realize you're being coached well until time passes. It's not something you realize in the moment. But same thing on the baseball side, how well we're coached with Coach Slosh and Coach Whitting, and the players bought in. And that was the one thing too, is that in order to be able to be coached well, you have to have a group of guys that are going in there and fighting for each other and ready to be coached. So that was the one thing that I really noticed about both programs and both teammates, or both sets of teammates, if you will, that was a factor. Didn't realize it at the moment, but now I'm sitting here today. I think that was probably one of the most pivotal things that I saw.
You kind of were part of what felt like the 300th conference change, but was the second or third, I think, going from Conference USA to the Mountain West Conference. I remember making that move to the Mountain West, and what a huge deal that was for the athletics program at the time. And you look back now, and TCU is a member of the Big 12, and it feels like still graduated to the big leagues once again, right? But that first year that Schloss was there with baseball, you guys make the first regional, I think really technically in history. That second year that you're there, you guys win the CUSA tournament, go back to the regionals. And then that third year, you get into the Mountain West and start just a string of absolutely dominating that conference really for the entirety of the time that TCU was in it. As the program makes that adjustment, what are you seeing about the way that you're being coached, the way that teams are being recruited, and then you yourself as a player, how do you feel that you made the adjustment in that regard?
Yeah, so I think that the type of players, once we started, obviously you start seeing success, you started recruiting better, and you start to see a different caliber of player, if you will, on a regular basis, if you will. Obviously we had great players throughout the way, but you can kind of just, like you said, that was kind of early part of, I guess, TCU baseball's journey to where they are now. But even today, like you look at the type of recruits and players that they were getting, when I was there compared to where they are now, it's a little bit different. But to the point of like the players being, I said, coachable and be able to get, that winning attitude kind of just grew into more success, and more players want to be a part of a winning program.
You come onto the seed, you obviously freshman All-American, like I said, preseason All-American coming into your sophomore year. You'd had great success. You'd had a great impact on both programs. In the football, you were part of something special. In the baseball program, you were a superstar. When you get that call to get drafted and you have the opportunity to leave, what goes into that as a 2-sport athlete? And what were those conversations like with Coach Patterson and Coach Schlossnagle?
Yeah, I think, Coach Schlossnagle had a little better understanding of where the direction would be for baseball. But I remember going and talking to Coach Patterson. Actually talked to Coach Winder about it first. I went to Cape Cod, and I was going to be there for summer workouts. I played for Falmouth and Cape Cod League. And then after that, I kind of got an idea of hey, they'll have a chance to get drafted pretty high. So we did have our conversations about that, and just kind of let them know that I was, it was on the radar. It wasn't a guaranteed thing. Obviously I had to have been a higher pick for me to do so. But it was a difficult decision because on the football side of things, the momentum of just, how the success that the TCU program was seeing, but more importantly, just my teammates. And then I really started getting into the groove of understanding the offense, understanding what it takes to read defenses. So I was able to kind of, they always say that your play speeds up to play fast, but play fast is to understand the offense in a subconscious type manner, where you're not thinking about the play, you're thinking about what defense they're in. You just get out there and you're in the zone, and what to expect and to where you're going to go with the ball. So it was difficult because I felt like I was just now getting to that point as a quarterback where I could, accomplish that. But at the end of the day, I had to make a decision where I felt like it was going to be, the longevity of my career. I felt like I could have a long career in the baseball world. And, I will say, if I never made it to the big leagues, that would have been probably one of the biggest regrets of my life.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that Cape Cod League, because I think that the average fan obviously hears about that experience and knows that the guys that get to go out and play out there are usually some of the elite talents. But what is it like being a player in that environment? I mean, it seems like such a special experience for a young guy to be out there playing high level baseball in the summer in that atmosphere and in that part of the country.
It is. I mean, it's a great experience, and not only for, as a kid going to college, you're in another part of the country, and this is like in Cape Cod, like this is a big deal for them during summer. So the whole city gets around you. The fans are great. There's so much history to it. I mean, some of these ballparks aren't great, but the locker rooms aren't great. But you're playing with guys from other teams across the country that you've ever seen, either heard of or seen play or play against. It's a great experience all around. Very lucky to be a part of something like that. It was a great experience, through and through. I did have to do a lot of just studying and for football. I did all my football workouts and throwing. So a lot of the pitchers had a great time, running routes for me and doing all that. We had a rental car, and this is probably terrible, but we roll the windows down and they drive like go routes because they got tired, and I was trying to throw them through the window.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this was an old beat up rental car. This thing was,
I think the statute of limitations is gone on that. I think you're okay.
Yeah, no windows were broken. The windows were down. So we just trying to hit them in the driver's side window.
Oh, that's how many times did you hit? What was your success rate there?
I don't remember, but just for the story of it, I don't even remember, but I'll just say all, just because,
Oh yeah, because we can't prove it otherwise.
Nobody can prove me otherwise. That's right.
Well, let's get you to put this on then. If you had come back for your senior season, you think you would have won that starting QB job?
I don't know. I think so. I like to think so, but you never know. Football is such a crazy game, and the one thing that I know, like I said, would have been different from me playing wise, is that I understand the offense a little better than I did before. And one of the things that you do lack is when you're playing two sports is that you don't have all that time of, video time. You can get it, but it's your day is so full with all the stuff you're doing, that extra time where you can be spending in the film room, learning the offense and just learning all the other subtleties about offense and then other just defenses in general and some of the new schemes that are coming out. You lose a little bit of that time. So to your point, I don't know, I can't really answer that definitively, but I would say I'd be a lot more prepared for that. Going into it.
Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about your major league career. You had an opportunity to play for several teams. You had an opportunity to go and play in Japan as well, which again is one of those really special, unique experiences, it seems like. And you played for some of the most storied franchises, the Yankees and the Cardinals. If you had to kind of sum up what your career was, what is like kind of the cup of coffee of your major league career and what it meant to you to have those opportunities, play in those ballparks, be part of those organizations?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about it, but I would say the journey was a blast. The ups and downs were, like I said before, is it some of the challenge that you're faced with and you're able to overcome. You're proud of it. there's obviously things in everyone's life and career that you wish you'd done a little bit different, but at the time you think you're always doing the right thing. But being able to say that in the major leagues, play for the Yankees and St. Louis Cardinals, and my time in Japan, it was a blast. I feel like I was able to live my childhood dream that I grew up, playing in the backyard, dreaming to become. So it was. I wish it lasts forever, but it doesn't. But yeah, it was a great time, and very thankful for those opportunities.
Do you have a moment that you look back on as kind of like, I mean, is it the first time that you step in the batter? Because you got a hit in your first at bat, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it kind of that moment, or was there a highlight or like one specific time that you're like, oh, this is the moment I've been dreaming of?
Yeah, you know what? So I got called up to New York. Everything happened so fast. It was a Saturday night game in AAA, and then a Sunday day game in New York. I was in Scranton. We just got back from a road trip, and I actually, because I was on a road trip, I had no laundry. And in the Yankees, you had to wear a collared shirt to the locker room. So I show up, I have no clean clothes, so I try to sneak in the side door, not wearing a collared shirt. And as soon as I walk in, the manager's like, "Come to my office." I'm like, "Oh God, I just got fined. Here's $100. I should bring my check." But sure enough, they ended up calling me up, and it was a great experience. But I think that the most surreal part of the whole thing for me in New York was me not being in spring training with the Yankees. I was in San Diego, got claimed off waivers to the Yankees at the end of spring training. So that team in 2010, you had Derek Jeter, Posada, A-Rod, Rivera, Granderson, Cano, Teixeira, like a list goes on. Obviously a bunch of Hall of Famers, but walking into that locker room and not really knowing any of them and knowing of them as superstars, but not ever meeting them until literally the first time I met Derek Jeter was running on the field. It was like he came out, it was a 1 o'clock day game, no BP in the field. He shows up, I'm sitting in the cage right outside the locker room. I'm right outside the dugout. And then, I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Derek." And I'm like, "I know." But then, that was kind of a surreal moment. But for me to actually, where it really set in, I guess, was we were in obviously the ninth inning. We're playing the Astros. We're beating them pretty bad. And then I guess, we were up like 8-9 runs or something like that. And then I had time. They made a pitching change. Rivera came in, and obviously his intro song came, and he comes running from the bullpen in. And it was the first time I got to I got a hit. The day went well. It was the first time I actually could take a deep breath and realize where I was. And looking up in Yankee Stadium and watching him run by to go close the game out. That was a pretty surreal moment.
It's just amazing. You can't beat that anywhere else.
That's right.
Yankee Stadium is a special place. How much now do you get a chance to follow TCU for football and baseball? Do you keep pretty good tabs on both, or baseball more? Or?
Absolutely. I love football, TCU football and TCU baseball with everything. I follow them every game, every practice, and every spring training and all that stuff, and spring ball. I die hard. Always have been, always will be. I don't really have. People ask what's your favorite NFL team and MLB team. I don't follow NFL like that. I'm a diehard TCU fan through and through. So I'm definitely watching everything I can.
So it's somebody who's been following those programs, who, has a love for the school that goes beyond just having been an athlete at it. Obviously an insane 6-month period where you see Jim Schlossnagle, after being rumored leaving a couple of years ago, heading to, of all places, Texas A&M. And of course, Gary Patterson, the mutual parting of the ways, as they phrased it, for the football program. Two people that, played a huge role in your formative years. What was it like for you to see those changes? And what do you think of the new environment with, Kirk Saarloos has obviously kind of changed the baseball environment a little bit, and Sonny Dykes has completely put TCU kind of on a 180 when it comes to football. So what have your outside observations been, and what do you think about, the old veterans leaving and the new guys coming in?
Yeah, it's obviously I'm partial. Not only do they coach me well, but they were integral part of helping me grow up, become a man, not only just me, but all my teammates. So very thankful for them to do what they've done for TCU. And what you mentioned before about where the programs were when I got here to where they are now. Obviously, they're the main reason. You can just look at the campus at all, in general, Coach Patterson. It's a completely different scene for essentially what he's done to help TCU become that way. It's just like anything else. Things come to an end, or things kind of run their course. I'm very excited, in both directions that the current programs are for baseball and football. They're going to do a great job. I know they will. But it doesn't mean that I don't, have a feeling of, I don't know what the word would be. And this is such a great respect for both of them, without diminishing what they've done, I'm excited to see the future.
Did you get a chance to watch the spring football game, since for the first time ever it was actually available?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I actually had to go out of town for a wedding, so I wasn't able to actually attend, but I definitely, caught a few clips.
Yeah, what do you think of the quarterback situation now as a former QB?
It's interesting. I think, well, first, I think competition breeds, champions. So I think any competition in any sport, any position is a good thing. And they're going to do a good job, and they're going to pick the winner. They're going to pick whoever they feel is going to be able to give TCU the best chance to win.
And then the last question I want to ask you, it's baseball season. TCU is coming off of one of the best week-long stretches that we've had in a long time, sweeping Texas Tech at home, going out into Stillwater and wrecking that beautiful new ballpark a couple of times. When you look at the program, did players that stand out to you guys that you really love watching? Is there anyone in particular that maybe reminds you a little bit of yourself, or that you're excited about their future?
Yeah, it's a tough question, because there's a lot of great players, right now. So I have to think about that. As far as, Elijah Nunez, obviously fun to watch, exciting player. Rayne Taylor, another guy that's just been raking since the day he got on campus. And the list goes on. I would say that the entire team is pretty fun to watch. They're all very talented, and it shows, obviously how well they're playing, and you can't go in and beat those caliber of teams on a consistent basis without that talent, depth, the depth of talent that they have right now. And Kirk's he's going to do a great job, and has done. He's doing a great job at the baseball program. I really think that I think TCU is going to get to the next step, if you will, with him being the head coach.
Hey, the next step's national championship. So you heard it here first, folks, right?
That's right.
Chad Huffman thinks we're winning a natty under Kirk, and I think we would all be for that. So, well, I really appreciate your time this morning. It was awesome to talk to you. What an incredible journey that you've had. What a huge keystone of TCU athletics that you've been, and awesome to know that you're still a huge TCU fan, that you truly bleed purple, and seeing you support the programs is really, really great. So really appreciate your time, and I think people are really going to enjoy hearing your story.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.